Hot dip galvanizing. It's legendary, right? It's one of steel's absolute best defenses against corrosion. It's tough, it's durable, and honestly, it's everywhere. But have you ever seen a galvanized part that just looks a little off? You know, maybe it's dull or kind of peeling or has a strange texture. So what's the deal? Why does this super coating sometimes fail or look flawed? Well, that's exactly what we're here to figure out.
So here's our game plan. First, we'll quickly cover why galvanizing is considered steel's toughest armor. Then, we're going to play detective and investigate the usual suspects: the chemical culprits inside the steel, the moments when the process itself falters, and even the mistakes that happen after the dip. And then we get to the big finale, learning how to tell a real, honest-to-goodness problem from just a simple cosmetic issue. All right, before we start digging into all the failures, let's take a second to appreciate why galvanizing is so often the hero in this whole story. It's not just about looking good, it's about pure, rugged performance.
And this right here gives us the cold, hard data. Just look at that bottom row. A galvanized coating isn't just a little bit tougher than your standard primer, it's over 400 times more resistant to getting scraped up. I mean, that is an incredible level of toughness. And here's the secret to its strength. See, this isn't just a layer of paint sitting on top. During the hot dip process, the molten zinc actually fuses with the steel. It creates brand new zinc-iron alloy layers. So it's less like painting a wall and a lot more like the steel is literally growing its own suit of armor. So, with that kind of performance, how in the world do we get from this beautiful, perfect finish you see on modern buildings to, well, to this, a coating that's literally peeling and flaking away? What could possibly go so wrong? Let's start with our first suspect. It turns out the problem can actually begin deep inside the steel itself, long before it ever even sees a kettle of zinc. It's a real inside job. You've got these two elements that can be hiding out in the steel's chemistry, silicon and phosphorus, and they can totally change the game. Too much silicon, and the reaction with the zinc just goes into overdrive, basically eating up that nice shiny outer layer. And if there's too much phosphorus, you get a coating that's super thick, but also super brittle and likely to flake right off. And here's a perfect picture of what that extra silicon does. Now, this piece is still completely protected from rust, don't get me wrong, but it's totally lost that classic, bright, shiny galvanized look. It's a perfect example of a cosmetic issue that's driven entirely by the steel's own chemistry. Okay, so next up, let's look at failures that have nothing to do with the steel's chemistry, but happen when something goes wrong during the hot dip process itself. You know, that galvanizing kettle is a pretty wild environment, and a whole bunch of visual issues can pop up. You might see things like rough patches, or little runs and drips from the zinc not draining perfectly as the part is lifted out. You can even get tiny particles like dross or ash trapped in the final coating. But a much more serious problem that can happen during the process is something called embrittlement. Now, this isn't just a surface flaw. This is a big deal. It's a structural problem that can make the steel brittle and likely to fracture under stress. It can be caused by a few things, like hydrogen getting into very high-strength steel, or even too much bending before it's galvanized. And this powerful image shows you exactly what's at stake. This is the real-world consequence of embrittlement. This is not a cosmetic problem. This is a complete, catastrophic structural failure. And it's why understanding exactly what kind of steel you have and how it's been handled before galvanizing is so important. Okay, so let's say the steel chemistry is perfect, and the dipping process goes off without a hitch. You'd think you're in the clear, right? Well, not quite. The journey isn't over yet. Problems can still pop up after the steel leaves the plant. I bet you've seen this before, this white, kind of powdery stuff on a stack of new guardrails or other galvanized parts. Now, this isn't your typical rust. This is a very specific issue called wet storage stain, or sometimes white rust. So here's how it happens. When brand new galvanized parts are stacked together really tightly, rain or just condensation can get trapped between the surfaces. And without any air to help it dry, the zinc can't form its normal, stable, protective layer. Instead, it forms this bulky white oxide, which can actually eat away at the coating if it's left there too long. All right, so now that we've seen all these things that can go wrong, all these potential failures, it's time for the big reveal. And the secret is, a lot of them aren't really failures at all, at least not in the way you might think. This is the crucial point, and it comes straight from the industry pros. For stopping corrosion, what really truly matters is the thickness of the zinc coating, not necessarily its perfect, shiny appearance. Let's look at a few examples. This distortion, right? It can happen when thinner steel gets heated up to galvanizing temperatures, and it might look like a huge defect. But according to the official specifications, it's often perfectly acceptable, just as long as it doesn't mess with how the part is used in the end.
And what about these little spikes? They look pretty sharp, but they're just drips of zinc that formed as the beam was lifted out of the kettle. They can literally just be filed off. It's a simple finish issue that's easily corrected, not a failure of the coating itself. And this is the ultimate proof of our main point. Remember that gnarly peeling coating from the beginning? Even something that looks as dramatic as delamination can be okay. The rule is simple. If the coating that's still attached to the steel meets the minimum thickness requirement for corrosion protection, then the part is good to go.
So what's the big takeaway here? It's that knowledge is power. When you see some kind of imperfection on galvanized steel, understanding why it's there, whether it's the chemistry, the process, or how it was stored, that moves you from just being a passive observer to being an informed inspector who can judge based on real performance, not just on looks.
And that kind of leaves us with one last thing to think about. What really defines quality in an industrial coating like this? Is it a flawless, mirror-like shine when it's brand new? Or is it the rugged, long-lasting, and sometimes imperfect-looking performance that actually protects our bridges and buildings for decades to come?